Hey, how's it going? It's Craig. I'm out in the garage and today we've got a Neo Geo AES to take a look at. Let's take a look. Okay, so I've never worked on a Neo Geo AES before. I've worked on the MVS, as you know. I've got one for my arcade cab. I've got a new pickup down here as well, which is a 4-slot MVS system. Picked that up from Nintendo Arcade recently. But this Neo Geo AES has been sent to me by fellow YouTuber Dylan from Hypertrigger X. If you've not seen Dylan's channel, check it out. Link's in the description down below. His channel is absolutely amazing. Very nice production quality. He's quite a mellow guy, really nice channel, really nice guy actually. I've met him a couple of times at different arcade club meets and things like that. Really great guy. He's a massive Japanese collector, so there's no surprise that he's got an AES in his collection. He bought it off eBay, I think, a while back. It was already modded with the RGB mod and a Universe BIOS, but an older version. So we're going to have a look at it today. It's not powering up, see what the issue is. I've already opened the box. I got a bit excited when it got delivered. I've already opened the box. I did film it, so we'll cut into that in a second and then we'll take a look at the fixing it and repairing it. Cool. Okay, quick test of the system. I've been looking online, and if you test these obviously onto a screen, even if they're not working, if you power them on, sometimes you will get a output on your screen and it'll either be like a green garbled mess or it'll be blue, and each of those different kind of colors mean a different fault on there. So I'm just going to power this on now. I powered it on earlier just to show you. So this is all plugged in and that's powered on, switches on, and 0 on screen. So there's not even a flicker. If I switch it off and then back on, there's no flick of sound, color. There's no interaction with the cables at all. So there's definitely something going on here, that there's no power in this system. If I power it on there, I get nothing on screen. Power it off, on. Oh, we've got something coming out. I think it might be the faulty switch. I've just been powering that back and forth and now I'm getting a white screen on it. Before I was getting nothing. Right, let's test the cart in there. So I haven't got a cart in it at the moment. This could be a live fix, but even if it is a live fix, we're going to take it apart and have a look at that switch. So let's put this Samurai Spirit in. Oh, we got it working. It's just a faulty switch. Can you believe that? Okay, so we're still going to take this apart. That was an absolute live fix. I was trying to show the error. But yeah, I was just powering that switch on and off. And obviously something's loose in there. We'll have to have a look at the solder, see what the issue is. But yeah, we're booted up and it's working fine. So let me turn the music down on this. I haven't got a control pad plugged in at the moment, but that's running. And yeah, let's try and power it off again and switch back on. Yeah, it's booting each time. Yeah, Samurai Showdown's working. Cool. Okay, so that was a little bit unexpected. I wasn't thinking that it was going to work first time off of just powering it, the switch back and forth. I didn't even like switch it back and forth loads. I just literally powered it on just to see if I was going to get an error code on screen. So you do get a green error code or a blue error code depending on what the issue is. I think green relates to the BIOS chip and blue relates to the RAM on the system. So worst case scenario, we're going to take a look at this switch, we're going to take it open and we're going to have a look at the solder on there, see if it's a loose solder point. It might be a cracked joint or something on there. So we'll reflow the solder on that. I've got some contact cleaner as well, so we'll put some contact cleaner on there, clean up that switch, make sure it's working nice and clear. We could even put a reset LED, so there's an LED inside the reset button which will show when it's powered on and off, because the biggest issue with these is there's no LEDs to show you the status on it. So yeah, we can do that as well. It's also running, I think, BIOS, Universe BIOS 3.3. 4.0 is the latest, so I've got a couple of chips here. I think they're the same on these as they are in the MVS, so I can always write a new chip, a new EEPROM, and put a an updated one in there, or we could even flash the one that's in there and wipe it. But yeah, let's give it a go. Let's have a look what's inside of it first of all. Okay, so this is the faulty power switch. I think it goes that way around, moves back and forth like that. Okay, so we've got the UniBIOS, the 3.3 in here as well, which is good, nice and labelled up. So yeah, we can pop that one out and we'll pop a new one in. And yeah, let's take this apart first of all. We'll have a look at the bottom of this switch. I think that's the first thing to look at. Then we'll have a look at what the options are for an LED in here. We could even just pop it straight inside of this cap, see if we could just hot glue it into one of the sides in there and see if it'll glow through. I'm pretty sure that people have done that, and there's a voltage reg right in here that I think we can take power from. So yeah, we'll have a look at that. I think that's a next step. Let's get the switch working, let's get the BIOS working, and then we'll put an LED in there as well just to have a look at it. While we're in here, we just look at all the capacitors. They all look pretty good. Nothing swollen, nothing looking dodgy, no leakage. Everything looks pretty clean actually. This probably has had a recap by the look of it. We'll see a little bit more when we turn it over just to see what the condition's like underneath, but at the moment it's looking in a pretty decent condition, so yeah, pretty pleased with it so far. Right, let's flip it over, take it out, flip the board over, have a look at that switch, and we'll go from there. Cool. Okay, so let's have a look at this switch. Okay, so it's just a toggle switch. I think this is on at the moment and then off on this direction. It's got nice clicking and everything to it, so it's not too bad. Okay, so it looks like this has been worked on before, this switch. It looks like it's got a little bit of residue around there from dried out flux and things, but it's not in bad condition. The solder's fairly solid. I can't see any cracks or any issues with it, but we'll reflow it quickly just to see if we get anything out of it. We can test it as well. We'll test it with continuity, so switching it back and forth so we can see if it's working. The board has had flux on it in the past. You can see that it's been obviously cleaned up at some point. Okay, so other than that connector on that one switch, this is looking really clean. There's a bit of flux residue and things around the board where it's been cleaned, but it's done, whoever did it did a good job, and this is a nice mod as well. So this is an RGB mod. This blue wire comes from this second pin here through the through hole, which should have been a capacitor leg, into the other side of the board and then onto the positive leg of that cap. So, and there's a couple of capacitors moved out of there, so whoever did this done a nice job on that. I'm guessing they've done the universe BIOS as well. So we will do this switch first of all. We'll resolder that just to make sure that it's working when I'm switching it back and forth. If everything's working on that, then we'll move on to doing UniBIOS next and then the LED after that. Cool. Okay, so let's just check it out with the continuity tester. As we've seen, that switch was working when we flicked it back and forth. So we should get continuity, I'm guessing, either between those two or these two once the switch is switched. So it's on the off position at the moment, so we wouldn't be expecting any continuity unless we obviously touch the same point. Like these two are going to be ground, so they'll work. Let's switch the switch across, so that should be across now. And yeah, we get continuity there, not there, not there. Fine. Okay, so that's continuity. So that's pretty much that switch is working now. But I do want to reflow these just in case it is something a bit dry in there. Let's zoom right in so you can see. Okay, so if I show you that switch a second, I would be a little bit tempted anyway to resolder this one. It's not terrible, it's in a really decent condition, but we'll resolder it, just reflow all these. We'll put a little bit of flux in there, then clean it off, just to make sure there's no cracks and missing parts on that joint. It should be a nice clean joint. So yeah, let's reflow those, and then we shall go from there. I'll clean the other side then. Cool. Okay, so I reflowed the solder on those, and I've cleaned it up with some isopropyl, so all looking nice and clean. I'm just going to continuity check it now just to make sure it's working. So should be these 2 points here. Yeah, that's beeping nice. Switch it off, and yeah, no connection. All of that's looking nice. I cleaned it up and it's nice and shiny. So that's all of us done on the bottom of the board now. We're going to have a look at this switch now. So see my Christmas socks down here? So we're going to have a look at this switch now and put some contact cleaner in there. So I use this electrical cleaner, it's contact cleaner, and it's basically just a spray that goes in there. The more you leave in there, you leave it in rather than wipe it out with isopropyl. You leave it in there and generally it stops any corrosion, any issues with it. The more you move it back and forth, the better it's going to be. There is a little bit of a gap down the side here where we can spray it into, so I'm going to spray it in here. And then we'll move the switch, spray it in there a little bit. We don't have to put loads in, and then we're going to switch it back and forth just to try and get it into all the gaps. So let's spray a little in. There. Spray it in here. And the good thing is this doesn't matter too much. If it gets on your wider board, it's fine. It's just a contact cleaner. It's a little bit, I suppose, like WD-40 type consistency. It's not too greasy, but it's not going to harm anything. If anything, it's going to clean stuff. So yeah, just let it soak in for a minute, move it back and forth, and that's going to clean this switch. Worst case scenario, we could always replace this switch, put a new one on there, but it doesn't look like it needs doing. So yeah, hopefully we're up and running now with that nice and clean, resoldered, all done. So jobs are good on that one. So let's plug it back in quickly, test it out, make sure that's all working, then we'll get on to the BIOS. Cool. Okay, so just quickly popped it all back together. I haven't screwed anything in or anything else, just put the cart in and switch them on, and there we go. So we're back to Universe BIOS 3.3 and the game will boot now. I unplugged the audio into the front of this, so it will work. Let's plug it in. There you go, so audio's working as well. I just had it turned on the TV and I didn't have it plugged in, the audio cable. So yeah, that's all good, so I'm happy with that. Whilst I've got it here and it's plugged in and it's working, I'm going to have a look on this board around here. This little power reg here, just to test that, probe it, see what we're getting out of that, see whether that is going to give me a 5 volt voltage that I can use for an LED. If I can use that, that's great. If I can't, I'll find somewhere else off a capacitor or something else that I can use. But let's have a quick look on that power reg, see if we can get any 5 volt out of it. Cool. Okay, bit of an awkward angle for this, but I'm going to try and film it anyway. So hopefully you can see this power reg here. Just trying to get it on camera. So that in the middle is a power reg. So it's got 5 legs on it, I believe. So the middle leg is going to be ground. Then the others are going to give off voltage. And I think if I go middle leg and then to the one to the furthest away from me, so upper board, so if I go middle leg and to there, my multimeter should give me a reading, but I haven't switched it on yet, so it's not going to do that. Okay, so let's power it on. Game should boot, which is fine. We're going to put that onto our middle leg there, and I'm going to try and get the reading from that one. And it's 5 volts. Okay, so middle leg and that one is 5 volts. So we should be able to run a little set of wires from here and maybe a resistor just around to the LED, which we can put into the power switch by here, or the reset switch up by here. So that'll give us a little bit of a short distance to travel. I've also noticed, game's booted as well, by the way, it is, and then I noticed there's a LED around the back by there. Where is it? There. So there's an LED on there anyway, but I just, obviously when the case is shut and everything, you can't see it, so absolutely stupid idea from SNK to put the LED in there. But we could snip it off and use that and run a cable all the way across, but what's the point when we've got a power reg right next to it? So let's use the power off of there. We'll run a little cable, and maybe it's 5 ohms, so 5 volts, so I'll have a look at what resistors and LEDs I've got. We'll drop it down a little bit just so it doesn't burn the LED out, and we'll go from there. Cool. But now I'm done. I was going to do the BIOS next, but we'll do the LED first and then we'll do the BIOS afterwards. Cool. Okay, so I've got my LEDs here, different colours. I think we're going to use a nice blue in there, but I'm going to need the resistor as well. So I think I need about a 330 ohm resistor. Get all the fuses out of the way. So this is all my resistors I've got. I bought a bulk pack off of eBay or AliExpress or somewhere at one point. I've had them for ages, and as you can imagine, using all them, you quickly work through one tab of the ones which you need, and then the rest of them just sit here forever. So it's a 200 ohms. Have a look for a 330, just to see if we got any here. Okay, so I found some 330s are right at the back. We're only going to need one of these, so we'll pop one of these off as well. Take that, put that up there for our parts in a bit, put that back in there. I'm going to get a nice blue LED. I'm going to go for a 3mm blue LED, so a nice small blue LED. Pop that up there, pop all this away, and we'll get on with doing the LED mod. Okay, so I'm going to use a Dremel now. I've only got a drill bit on this at the moment. It should be fine if I can just work it in. What I want to do is take 2 of these legs out. So there's 4 legs inside this reset switch. I want to be able to take the 2 against the longest side of the reset switch, just so we can drill a hole into there and put the LED inside of it. Once the LED's inside, we'll hot glue it in and it'll be nice and safe. So it doesn't need to be the neatest thing. I think I can get away with the 1 bit on here, but I'll just Dremel it away and see what we can get to. It would be nice to do a little bit of a cut on there as well, but we'll just use this drill bit for now and see how we get on. Cool. Okay, so we got our parts. Let me move all this crap out of the way. I'm going to have to clean my mat off. Stinking dirty after Dremel in. Should have put something down first, shouldn't I? But there we go. There's the hole in there. It's fairly neat. It would have been neater with a cutting tool rather than just the drill bit on there, but that drill bit cuts quite nicely through this kind of plastic quite easily, sideways and things, so I knew I could use it to cut this quite neat. But from the outside it's going to look fairly stock, so it's not going to be a problem at all. What we got is our little 3mm LED, so that'll pop in here now. We'll hot glue that in once we're ready, but it'll fit quite nicely into that button, and it'll shine through quite well. What I want to do is, before I bend these out of shape, I want to put the resistor onto the positive of here, just so I know which one's the resistor and which one's the positive, and then when we wire it up we're not going to get that messed up. So I'm going to quickly snip back this wire, snip back the resistor, and then we're going to solder it onto there quickly, just so we got that out of the way. Okay, so while I'm letting this dry, I'm going to jump back over onto the board. I'm just going to run 2 cables, one for the power, one for the ground. Super simple. Little bit of length just so we've got a little bit of space. I don't want it too long and flapping around the board. But yeah, let's put a little bit of space on there so we've got a little bit of cable to play with, and so there's a bit of movement if you need to take it off in the future. Other than that, we just got to put it on, wire it in place, and we'll use some heat shrink just to cover these in the future, just so there's no issues with it. But other than that, it's fairly straightforward, and we just test it out then once we got it all wired in. Cool, so let's go over to the board and get that sorted. Okay, so I got 2 cables, 2 little bits of wire, and we're going to go from here to here, so it's not far at all. And I think by the time I solder those on, goes around, goes up to the LED, it'd be quite a nice length actually. Yeah, all I'm going to do is pre-tin these. I'll tin them with some solder now and some flux, solder them onto here. We'll probably put a little bit of flux on there and solder them up as well, give them a bit of tinning, and then solder the other ends onto the LED when we're ready. So yeah, let me get on with that and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so that's soldered in, cables are tucked away fairly neatly now, and then when we power it on, we've got blue LED. So it's glowing. It's going to look a bit funny on camera, but system's up and running, which is great. But that should look really nice in there now. So the LED is shining, as you can see, inside of there. It glows quite well, and you can see it when the case is on. So yeah, much better than having nothing displaying. So yeah, chuffed with that so far. So switch is working, LED reset. We now just have our UniBIOS to sort out. So let's get that stripped out and we'll go from there. Cool. Okay, so we're going to swap out this UniBIOS now. I've got a replacement EEPROM here. So this is a UV erasable. So if we don't cover that little window over the sunlight, or if you put a UV light on there, we'll raise the data off there. So there's probably what's underneath here as well, so we can peel that back if we wanted to. We could use this, we could wipe this and put a new one on onto that one, not a problem, but it's easier to do a separate one first of all. We know that one's working, we'll keep that as a spare. We can always put that one back on if this one doesn't work. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this across to the PC, we're going to program on UniBIOS or Universe BIOS version 4. We'll get that up and running, we'll swap them out, and it's literally just a case of putting a wedge underneath here, lifting them out little bit by little bit. Let's have a look now, see if we can do it whilst we're on camera. I'm just going to be using this Xbox X-clamp tool. All I'm going to do is lift up the board. I'm going to slide the X-clamp tools gently into the one end, wiggle it slightly just to lift up the legs ever so slightly on that end, come up to the other end, and we're going to do the same. And what we're trying to do is lift it so it comes out all in one like that, no bent legs, nice and neat. And we can use that again. So underneath here, if I peel this back a second, anyway, balls that up, aren't I? Who uses a normal sticker on there? I thought it was going to be like a label printer one, but underneath here there will be a window somewhere, and that'll be an erasable ROM probably. Let's have a look. There we go. So if I just scratch away that, so there's an erasable ROM, EEPROM. So we can put that one aside. We'll keep that one as a spare just in case we need to put it back on. This one we're going to need to program before we put it into the board. So let's go across to the Windows PC. We'll program this chip with the right UniBIOS, and then we'll put it into the system and give it a go. Cool. Okay, so this is my TL8662, I think it is. It's a chip programmer. It'll program lots of different sizes of EEPROMs and everything else. So I've used it for little picks and for doing the Master System region switch, and I've used it for quite a few different things. Nice little bit of kit. Didn't cost me a particular high amount. I bought it on eBay or Amazon, I think, and it's ideal for doing these EEPROMs. So little notch at the top, there's a little diagram on there, pop it into there, fits in nice and neat, and this is the biggest type of chip I can take on this type of programmer without buying an adapter. And then we just literally push the lever down and it's ready to program. So now over to the PC where we'll load up the hex file and we'll write it to the chip. Cool. Okay, so we've programmed our EEPROM. That's all ready now. If we leave that little window open, we're going to wipe the data off there, and we don't want that. So I've got a Dymo label that I printed, similar to what was on the original one, but this one's an actual proper sticky one rather than a piece of paper that was on that last thing. UniBIOS 4.0, just so we know what BIOS is on there, and we know that it's the custom BIOS installed. Let me stick that on nice and straight. There we go. So that's on there. Now all we've got to do is make sure that little notch there is lined up with the notch here, and we're going to push these pins in just slightly, just so they're going to go into this connector quite easily. Let me just zoom in on this just so I can show you me putting this back in. So we're just going to literally push this back into the slot like we took the other one out, and it's just going to take a little bit of persuading because it's the first time this chip's been put into a socket. And it's literally just pushing it in, make sure everything's aligned, and there we have it. So that's our BIOS upgraded on the system. We're just going to plug it all back in now and make sure it all works. You got to make sure these pins are aligned and everything's going into the right connector on these, but it's fairly certain that this is the right size socket for that chip, so it goes in quite nice and neat. So let me put this back together, we'll test it out, film whether we get UniBIOS 4.0 coming up, and then we'll go from there. Cool. Okay, so moment of truth, we've got all of the things fixed, so, well, hopefully all of the things fixed. Switch is working, power LED, UniBIOS 4.0. I plugged the control pad in this time just to see if we can get into the BIOS settings, and let's power it on and see what we get. So we're getting UniBIOS 4.0 coming up. Our game is running. I've got no sound because I haven't plugged that sound cable in again. Let me plug that in. And then we should get some sound out of this. Nice. So this is in English now. What we can do with this, I'll show you quickly what we can do with the UniBIOS. We can swap to languages and everything else. So let me turn this back down. Turn it off a second. Oh, we'll use our new reset switch with the LED in it. Okay, so on my control pad, if I hold A, B and C down while we're booting it on, so I've held those three down, switch it on now, we should get into the UniBIOS. So this is the UniBIOS screen. So in here I can change a load of settings. I can change what region we're in, so either A for Japanese, B for USA, or C for Europe. I know games like Samurai Spirits, if I go into Japanese, it'll give me more features on there, so it'll give me blood and things like that, rather than just sweat and things that come off of the characters on the USA and Europe version. So let's do A for Japanese, and then we got arcade mode or console AES mode. We don't want arcade mode because that's for your arcade games with coin up buttons and everything else, but we're going to AES mode, which is B, and then I can press reset on our system, and when we come back up now, it's telling me I'm on Japan console mode. So this should now be in Japanese, and everything should be playing as it should, but also we'll have Japanese text throughout all the menus, and we'll have blood on the game as well. So let's have a look if that's worked. So you get your Japanese warning because it's a Japanese game. Yep, there we go. So Japanese text for the intro. There you go, Samurai Spirits. So let's kick into the game, go on normal mode, and Hukumikui. I have no idea of this game, so let's just be this guy. So we're fighting her with a hawk. So let's give this a go. We should see blood now when one of us gets hit. Probably me rather than her, but let's give it a go. Yeah, so there you go, see the blood coming off. You wouldn't have had that on the original version. God, I suck at these games. Oh, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. And I'm dead. That's how bad I am at these games. Lucky I'm better at fixing them than I am at playing them. So there we go, so we got UniBIOS running. Let's go down a bit. So there we go, we got UniBIOS running. We got our blue LED and we got our power switch up and running. So pretty much a success. I can get this back together now, get it back to Dylan, and he'll be hopefully a happy chap. Cool, let's put it back together and do a wrap up. Okay, so a really nice fix, fairly easy on that switch. I was really pleased that we got that running. Really shocked at just switching it back and forth and it came on screen. I was a little bit taken aback with that, but I'm glad that it's all working, and we've done a couple of nice mods to it now. So what I'm going to cut to in a second is a little bit of footage from Dylan showing it running back in his house. He's got a really cool setup. He's a massive one for cables and upscalers and everything else. So I'll show you his footage of it running on his screen. He's also got a Neo SD on there as well. So yeah, we'll cut to Dylan in a second, just on the end credits, just to show you it all running with him. Yeah, thank you again for watching. Please obviously subscribe. Anything like this, when I do repairs for people now, I don't do a lot of repairs, and I don't take on a lot of repairs. I'm not a professional repair studio or shop or anything else, but I do take on repairs for people from time to time, namely on systems that I want to work on. So this one was sent to me. Dylan messaged me, said would I be interested in working on it. I did that. I don't ask for payment in return. What I do ask for though is anyone covers the cost of the shipping that I've got to cover, and any of the parts. And generally I don't ask for cash. I ask them to buy something from my Amazon wish list, which is linked again in the description down below, to the value what they think the service has cost, really. So I'm totally honest. It's a bit of an honesty box. I'll be upfront with the cost of the parts and things. Whatever people want to pay on top of that, up to them. It's everything on there, from a packet of M&Ms right the way through to a really expensive Heiko soldering iron. I don't expect people to be buying that unless we're doing a big trade or something, but it's all on there. I've made a list of things that I'm going to be buying anyway over the next couple of months, so if somebody does want to chip in and buy something, then even better. Okay, so thank you for watching. Let's cut to Dylan and show you the footage of it running.
All I'll say is a big massive thank you to Craig for bringing my beloved Neo Geo back to life. And here we go, and it's loading. Yeah, so massive thanks to Craig for sorting this for me. He's also gone above and beyond as far as I'm concerned as well. Done some extras for me, which I didn't ask for, which was really kind of him. You can see there it's got the blue LED light, and also it's got the most up-to-date UniBIOS in there as well. So, I mean, this for the not the OSSC, the RetroTink 5X looks absolutely awesome on a big screen. Very happy. So again, massive thank you, Craig. Really appreciate the kindness you've shown me in getting this back to life. You know, can't thank you enough. And I'll leave it there. Cheers. Bye bye.